Super excited to dive right in here to our guest of honor here today. So, yeah, we're talking with Andrew Hankey from BRIX Recruiting here. We had an amazing conversation just about a month ago here now, just really learning about that. We have a couple of things in common. We're both in Minnesota, which is quite unique, and we had a good conversation because I had some background experience in recruiting as well. So there's lots of good, fun stories that we were able to share. But I'm just super excited to invite him to answer some questions that I know our audience is always having. And today is like ever competitive market here today when it comes to recruiting. Is how do we post job ads? Do we actually recruit for roles? And most traditionally, as we know, most people are just putting job ads out there and waiting for candidates to come to them. But finding specifically for higher level key roles, finding someone who has experience coming into your organization, like it's not often that you're going to go find someone in Toledo, Ohio, who has marketing experience or has sales management experience within the industry, who's going to help you just automatically get you to the next level versus having to spend all the time training them in. So that's what we're going to really touch on today. And so without further ado, Andrew, tell us a little bit about you personally and about BRIX.
Yeah, appreciate it, Sean. Thanks for the handoff there. So at BRIX here, we recruit specifically within the home improvement industry, and within the industry, specifically management and executive positions. So sales management through production, installation, marketing. We'll touch on some call center director searches, and then the executive positions that are above those too. So everything from C-level to director level for sales, operations, and everything in between. As long as it's within the home improvement industry, that's where our specialty is. We work nationwide. Sean mentioned we're based out of Minnesota, just outside of the Twin Cities and suburbs. But a lot of our work, everything from Florida to Texas to Anchorage, Alaska. We have filled roles nationwide. So we have had an excited time, recruiting this industry. And what we kind of pride ourselves on is we're a little bit of old school recruiting, right? So our job is to reach out and talk to candidates, both active and passive candidates, have our thumb kind of on the market, know what's hot, what candidates are looking for, what clients are offering or looking for themselves, and to have a broad vision of this. I mentioned we do this nationwide, so we feel we can give some good insight on the home improvement industry, especially management roles. And even though we don't recruit for those lower, in-home sales or install reps, we're talking to a lot of clients that have been successful with that. So we're always happy to share on some tips of those entry-level positions, if you want to call them that, to help potential owners find those individuals. We'll help you on the management side, but we're always happy to give that free advice away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dive right in. Again, thank you so much for joining me here today, and I'm excited to dive. We could spend, like we mentioned before, we can spend hours talking about this subject specifically. But yeah, let's dive in just the main difference between like recruiting and now kind of the traditional kind of recruiting or hiring process that most companies have. So obviously most companies will talk to that, like they go post an ad, they got a job opening for a sales management position or a marketing management position. They just post the ad, write a job description, post the ad, and wait for the candidates to come to them. So tell me how hiring a third-party recruiter, what does that experience look like to go find a candidate versus kind of have them come to you?
Yeah, no, I would say the big difference is the biggest difference, I would say, if you're looking for that third-party recruiter, is to try to find a recruiter that's in your niche, that understands your industry. So within home improvement, home remodeling, we understand the roles and the niche. We can give feedback on that. But the big difference, I would say, between posting, you're kind of post and praying is what we call it. You're posting it and you're hoping that someone probably from your competitors applies. But I would imagine most of you that are doing posting, you're getting a lot of resumes and there's not a lot of experience maybe that matches what you're looking for. Where a third-party recruiter, we're able to tap someone on the shoulder that maybe is at your competitor, that most of the people we talk to, they're not on the job boards. They're not looking for a new career. But if they get a phone call and they're willing to listen, usually what's out there, maybe it's something they want to move forward with. And the recruiter, can have a little bit finding out their pain points, matching that with maybe the positivity things that the client's doing. Could be culture, could be compensation, could be work-life balance, a lot of things that we're finding out, and we're trying to match, their pain points to maybe something that your company is offering. We also talk to these individuals on a regular basis. So you might have an opportunity in Dallas, Texas. I'm talking to people on the East Coast, West Coast, up here in Minnesota that have indicated in the past, hey, if something comes up in Dallas, reach out to me, let me know. By posting a job ad locally in Dallas, most of those individuals aren't searching the Dallas Indeed job boards most of the time. So the big thing is we're going to broaden your search, right? We're going to cast a much larger net out there. And personally at BRIX, everyone we talk to is industry relevant. So we're bypassing all of the kind of the random resumes that come through your job ad. And if you're working with a recruiter like us, we're only putting people in front of you that, one, match what you're looking for, two, have the background. And we're also able to give you some advice on maybe we find that candidate that is a sales manager for the past 6 years and has been groomed to be a director, but just does not have the opportunity at their current organization. You might be looking for a sales director, and here's a sales manager that's just waiting for that opportunity. We're going to be able to find those people for you. Again, most of these people aren't looking for jobs, and the ones that you probably want to bring your organization is you're not looking for the job hopper that's on the job ad every day, every year looking for a new career path. So, those are some of the big differences, I think, but a lot of it is advice, insight we can give you too. During the interview process, we're getting feedback from the candidate, finding out what their concerns are, how they thought the interview went well with you, versus posting a job ad. If you get that interview come in, you're not receiving that feedback. And we're really trying to, provide as much of a white glove service as we can, just from a time aspect. The time that you put into posting that job to going through all the resumes, scheduling, we take that all off your plate. And to be honest right now, if you're posting a job, your competitors probably are also. So there's 10 different, sales manager postings in Dallas. Are you getting the best of the best? So hopefully that answers your question and gives some good advice there, Sean.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think that, so I had a stint in recruiting that we used to recruit, salespeople and sales managers and all that stuff within the industry. And I think the biggest thing is specifically in sales and in sales management is if you post an ad out there for a sales manager, you either get somebody who is unsuccessful at their current role and is looking because they're about to get fired or they see the writing on the wall and so they're looking for someone else, or you get somebody who is just moving for a 1% higher commission or a bonus structure or just something better. And that, sometimes those transient people who are always looking you're gonna hire them for a very short period of time as well. So there's some reason why they're looking. And sometimes it's really, really hard to uncover there too. One of the things about Recruiter as well is you kind of become this third party intermediary that you work on behalf of the company and the candidate in a way that I remember having so many conversations with candidates and them going like, well, I didn't, if there's a better company or a different company or they had this, then I would actually want to be more, be interested in that role after an interview. And you get like that candid feedback that like, as a company, you never get that, customer feedback. That homeowner candidate feedback, on the role itself, even if it is a good fit or not. So I think that's also very, very different about the recruiting process is you're actually going after people like the best candidates are already employed. So go try to find them and then, offer them something better that would be more sustainable, whether it's culture and all of that here too. So I think talking about, so we'll touch on the installer side of things, because that's a big topic here as well, and the sales side of things. But let's park on the management side for a minute and just talk about in today's age of that there's 10 sales reps postings in Dallas, for instance. How do you separate yourself from the other jobs that are out there for an experienced sales manager or an experienced marketing manager? How do you differentiate from those? Is that, today, is it all about compensation? Is, what's swaying candidates, especially experienced candidates who are going to come in your organization with experience to help you get to the next level versus hiring just someone general
Yeah.
experience in that area?
No, I think there's a lot to that question, right? But the main topic is obviously compensation. In today's market, most people, especially on the sales side, right, are probably having the best years they've ever had in their career, the past few years here. So for them to make a move, one, the compensation, they're probably not making a lateral move, if we're being honest. And the ones that are making a lateral move are probably unhappy at their organization. It might not be the best candidate for you. There's always, more to the story, right, than that, but something to be aware of. So I would say, if you're talking to a recruiter or you're talking to your inner circle and finding out maybe your peers are paying for a sales manager job, just know going into that job, we're probably have to go up and above that to really draw the talent that we want. There is a lot of extra, things on the culture, the work-life balance. With sales managers, there's selling sales managers and the more office-based and ride-alongs and such, and finding out, what exactly is your sales manager job. So I would say in that if you are using a job posting or you are working with a recruiter like myself, we really want to dig into what does a day in the life of that sales manager look like. If the team currently is having issues closing, right, and we know we need more ride-alongs, let's advertise the ride-alongs. Versus, we don't advertise it. You get into an interview process and find out that this person currently isn't doing ride-alongs or isn't extremely thrilled about doing ride-alongs. They're probably going to, pull themselves out of the interview process pretty quick. So I think with a lot of that, just being upfront with candidates on this is what we're looking for, right? On a job posting, I think a lot of them, if you pulled up most sales manager job postings, they all look fairly similar. I think the big thing you can put in there is a lot of candidates are looking for growth opportunities. In most companies, if not all, have seen some pretty good growth over the past few years, right? So talking about your story, how has the organization changed? Has the head count, increased? What are things that separate you? Maybe your company does an annual trip, right? Highlighting these things that are, difference makers for people, that showing how do you recognize your employees. I think that's a huge thing too for people. They're looking to be a place where they're recognized, they're well paid, but it's a welcome environment. There's a lot of different avenues you can do that, but I think a good practice is pull up your job ad, go pull up someone else's job ad for a sales manager on Indeed. And do you get excited about that job ad? If you're reading it, put yourself in the sales manager's shoes, or does it look just like the next guy's job ad? And those are things too that, like I said, we do that all day long with our clients. Is there might be positions that aren't in our wheelhouse, and we help them kind of read through their job ad and such. And I think it's a cool exercise to do. And most people will walk away going, yeah, I'm either not excited about it, or yeah, we're exactly the same as the other guy. Why would anybody, they're probably applying to both, and whoever replies quicker is, the direction they're going. So that's where I think, but the compensation piece is always going to be, the end of the day, it's always going to boil down to that. Not everyone has 401k. Advertising, if you have 401k, if you have a strong benefit package, advertise. We have a competitive, strong benefit package. Today, in what we just went through, the pandemic and everything, benefits are a huge deal to most people. If we don't have a benefit package, then we're really talking about the compensation. Are we going to that search knowing that we don't have benefits? They're going to have to pay for it on their own. We're going to have to go up and above, to allow this person. Otherwise, they're going to move and potentially take a loss in net income because they're paying for benefits out of their pockets. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, and let's just, talk about that here from just even ranges from like a marketing manager and sales manager salaries today. Like, obviously money is a huge aspect of things when it comes to for a company to be a candidate to choose to go move to a different organization. And even stopping for a second here to acknowledge that as at the different iterations of business it happens is that, when you're actually hiring a sales manager that has experience within the industry to take your company to the next level, or replacing a current sales manager or someone in your organization, that one of the biggest issues I've always seen with all companies is if you hire someone from outside the industry, to be a sales manager or in a management position, you can have a lot of issues because you're taking someone who has no experience with this industry and having to teach them from scratch in a management position. If you're already a $3 million company or more, $5 million company or doing more, you need someone with experience, or else you're stalling your business out. You need to find somebody who's above and beyond, who's ran a $7 million sales team or a $15 million sales team, and then to help you get there. You want to get there, hire for that type of role. And it's really hard to recruit, or really hard to find one in a job ad versus actually going to recruiting that specific type of candidate. But as far as compensation goes, like where are those ranges? Obviously Midwest versus Northeast or out West. I mean, where are those ranges at for kind of a sales management position today, from like a base salary and, and moving up to be competitive? I think not only for, like you're like hiring in those specific areas to make sure that you are competitive.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into that question, right? Like you pointed out, where are they based? Where are you in the country? Cost of living, the size of your current company and such. But I would say on the sales manager, for what we see, and maybe it's best for me to kind of show what the low level, right, is we're seeing, base salaries, and these are current sales managers in home improvement doing the job today. On the low end, base salaries around 80,000 to 95 to 100 is pretty average. And even at that point, we're seeing more and more sales managers get into that low six-figure base salary. Now, there are organizations that would have a selling sales manager, right? That maybe have a smaller team of 3 to 4 reps. That sales manager is still running some of their own leads and producing commission off that. For those roles, we're seeing maybe a base salary of 60 to 80. But I would say for those types of searches, we're also need to, my best advice is be open to the individual that's a top performing sales rep. They've been there for multiple years. They're looking to get into management. Those are good, potential candidates to go after, I think, versus, you might have a sales manager that's doing the selling there. If they're 60 to 80, again, are they going to make a lateral move? Probably not. And even the guy that's making 90 today, a lot comes into it, obviously, like we've mentioned on this call so far, but those are probably the base. And I would say on the marketing side, it's probably the same ranges, if not a little higher. Marketing can, as we all know, can have a lot of different aspects. Some companies are strictly digital, and other companies are asking their marketing managers to oversee call centers and event teams and shows and, all kind of aspects. But I think right around that, 90 to 100 on the marketing is kind of what the entry point that we're seeing. If it goes quick, as we all know, there's a lot less marketing managers than sales managers out there. It's a very competitive market on the marketing side, for sure. I think we all see the power in what marketing does for a company. It all starts with the lead generation. So it's a very valuable role. And I think most of the individuals in those spots know their worth also. So.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, I think that's where you look at it from like a starting point and above. The bigger of a company you are, the more experience that you're hiring in. Like that's the nice thing about also working with a recruiter, as well as you kind of can ask this question. A recruiter can go ask the candidate how much they're looking to make, and then go, you need to pay this, like we need to bump up. You want that person, this is how much they're going to cost to really pull them over there too. You got to kind of intermediary there to be able to help with the compensation side. Obviously, you have to kind of start with that to begin with as well, in some range, depending on the experience level you're looking for. But yeah, if you're a bigger company and you're $30 million in revenue or more, and you're managing a lot in the marketing side of things, or a large sales team, obviously it's more responsibility, more pay. You're looking for someone with more experience. They're going to cost more than if you're a $3 million company wanting to move to 7 million in revenue, and you're looking for a sales rep manager who's got in that range, you're managing a much smaller team there too. So,
and I believe, for us too, it's, we're talking very general numbers right now. So
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of our conversations are with clients and potential clients, kind of showing them what local in their marketplace, what it is, and those values can range. So something to always be aware of too. But to your point, another benefit of a recruiter, right, is we can kind of see where the pulse is out there and get that feedback back to our clients. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Well, and that's one thing you just don't get when you post a job ad out there with an $80,000 base, or like everybody does and says, oh, there's lots of, you can make a six-figure potential. It's like, well, what kind of six figures? Low, medium, like what,
Yep.
or is it, or you can make 250,000 because one sales manager did that at one time, in a really good month, in a really good year in the midst of the pandemic, or are you giving a base salary? So it's,
Yep.
attract all sorts of people that way. And sometimes the wrong people. So yeah, let's pivot over to kind of the installer side of things. We had talked about this briefly on our phone call, and last is like some creative ways to really recruit installers in today's market. Obviously, it's hard. Companies are getting backed up on the installation side of things still, in different categories. So like one thing looking at is like, how do you have to go out there and try to actively recruit good installers. It's no different than hiring for any other position, or you have to get in front of the right people and present them a really good offer. But any creative things that you've seen companies do to really make sure that they're finding good installers, but staying relevant to the installer networks that are out there?
Yeah, the best advice I can give you is recruiting should be very much just like your lead generation on the sales side. Is those potential installers, subcontractors, you should be putting in some sort of CRM system, right? And tracking those potential new employees or new subcontractors for yourself. Add very much, I would imagine a lot of you have customers in a CRM system that are on a drip campaign, that are getting constant emails from your organization. We should be doing the same for these installers. And maybe once a month or every 2 weeks, they get an email talking about the opportunities. But within that email, again, we want to separate ourselves from the competition. So maybe you have a website created that just speaks about kind of your culture. Maybe you have some short 30-second videos of current contractors, current installers that are giving their opinion on why they align themselves with your business, And so now when an potential installer for your company gets an email from you, or the install manager hands them their business card at the Home Depot parking lot, right? There's a website link there that they're not going to your company customer facing website. They're going to the website that's for recruiting. It's talking about your culture. It's maybe got pictures of your holiday party that these folks are invited to. It's got some video from maybe the install manager, video from subcontractors, sites from the job scene. Maybe you're do a great job of branding your installers, right? And you're showing all of this as visual, and it's starting to separate yourself that these guys are different than the other companies out there, right? Maybe you're just very upfront with your rates on some of these emails, right? But I think the more you can treat them like a customer and continue to be in their inbox, maybe they're on a text campaign through your organization. I know there's a lot of marketing services that offer these things, but treat them like a customer. Get them in a CRM, have notes on them, constant communication. If all of a sudden we're staffed up and 3 months later something happens, do we have a list that the install manager can call through right now? Or is there a possibility that if that happens, he could go in the CRM and here's a low-hanging list of individuals he can start to call through and ask for referrals and such. So I think that's a good way of doing it. I've also seen companies that every company has a referral bonus for the most part, but it's, how does it look like? There's companies that will have plans that say, anybody in the company, all you have to do is take a picture of that general contractor's van that has the phone number on the side and text that into whoever the hiring manager is. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go approach them. You don't have to shake their hand, because honestly, a 21-year-old sales guy, is he going to go do that? Maybe, probably not. But if all he has to do is take a picture and send it into the production or installation manager, and know that if that person gets hired, they get some sort of compensation, right? There's some sort of reward for them. I think you do that, you go from just the install manager and the installer is looking for people, your whole organization has something in for it. The admin can do it. The showroom people, the in-home sales consultants, the production crew, the warehouse, they're all in on it. And so they're constantly taking pictures. And yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff that's not going to go anywhere. But again, you're trying to build that database. You're trying to find more people out there. and you have more than one person looking now. So those are a few little things. Maybe it's new, maybe it's not. And there's also, probably talking to your marketing department too. What can we do from the marketing side of things? There's a lot of companies doing some really interesting things on the marketing side toward recruiting. That's, different than just what we've been talking about, the normal job posting. And I hope to God someone applies tonight on Craigslist, right? So.
Well, and I love that. I think that, again, when it comes to recruiting and making yourself, from if it's cultural or whether it's, your pay structure that you're super upfront with these installers on as well, like, when there's a deficit of labor in the market, you need to go there's still labor, there's, the supply is, it's still there. You just need to be able to offer them something more to get them to work with you instead of working with your competitors in that way. And you got to find the best way in to that. So I think marketing to them, keeping your brand in front of them, staying relevant, presenting them an offer no different than it is, from a lead generation standpoint. I love that, to stay relevant in front of their inbox, emails and text messages there too.
I would add
that recruiting aspect of it as well, like, putting a recruiting bonus out there for your entire team. Like, your sales reps are already driving around neighborhoods as is, and they, drive across a truck that want to take a picture of it and all be active in trying to find more installs. That only helps the whole entire business as a whole.
Yeah. And I think it crosses over to your in-home sales reps too. We can take the same approach. And I would say one other thing is recording what your recruiting looks like. So if you know that you have to hire 3 in-home consultants, next month, do we have any data to know what that takes? So what I would maybe get to is, if you have the job ad and you have 30 people apply for the job ad, you find 5 people are valuable enough to have a screen and actually answer, 3 get passed on the hiring manager and 1 gets hired. We're starting to build some ratios here.
Yeah.
So we know if we got to hire 3 people, well, we need roughly 90 people to apply to that job ad. And so now when we're going to a new year, new quarter, it's not, we need to hire 3 sales reps. It's, we need to produce 30 interviews, and we have metrics. So if you have an in-house recruiter or in-house admin, now there's some accountability pieces, very much like you have close rates for the sales team. Let's start to make close rates for our recruiting efforts too. And we can start to track that. And now we can really see the data that, while we're struggling to get people to apply, maybe we got to look at our job board. And every time we updated that job ad, our intake went way up. So now we can start to track this data and have some data points and put some ROI on it, because now we can track back that we paid Indeed $1,000 last month, and it seems like a lot of money, but we got 2 hires out of it. So we know our cost per hire is $500 per rep, which is a drop in the bucket for most sales consultants, right? They're going to hopefully be able to bring that back pretty quick to us. I think that's a big missing piece, that when we talk to companies, is we keep such great track of our sales and production installation. And then we get to recruiting, and we just know we spent $5,000, last quarter in recruiting, but we can't break it down to know, was that a good return on investment? We got 1 hire, it's just hard for planning when we're not keeping track of those numbers. So, and those are things that we love talking about with clients, is helping them build those systems on how to track and such, and offer some advice. We run our business very much like that. So I can tell most clients exactly kind of what to expect as far as candidate generation, depending on your market and position, because we keep track of that, and it really helps the recruitment process. It goes a long ways. So.
Well, I love that correlation, even looking at it on, like, we know the marketing side of things. Obviously, we get the reports back on a consistent basis from our clients. So you've got a lead, you've got a set, you've got a demo, issued a demo, and it's a gross sale, net sale. It's no different. You're tracking all the stages of the interview process, and you still need a lot of candidates as leads, as candidates on the front end, and then you got to go through each stage of that qualification process to the end. And the only way to actually expand your organization and go and say, without having all those numbers defined, it's hard to say our goal for the next quarter is to do, 5 million or 6 million in revenue. But in order to do that, we need to hire at least 1 more sales rep. Okay, do we have to post 1 ad or 2 ads or 3 ads, or, and do we know we're on track to hit that goal? Like, you have to kind of break it into all those steps ahead of time, so you actually know that when you're actually recruiting for the next year here and looking for exponential growth, to hire 5 sales reps in a training room,
Yep.
how many how many ads do you have to run? How many candidates need to apply? And you got to keep changing things up, just like marketing goes. You need to try different job boards. You need to put all the resources out there you possibly can to put your information in front of them and differentiate yourself. If you're putting, as you talked about sales management job posting, if your job postings are the exact same, the headlines, the position titles, that you offer competitive sales, everyone can make 6 figures. It's, if they all look the same and sound too good to be true, then they probably are. And that's what's, pushing people away from them. So you got to try all different things. We've had people that use Facebook ads to try to recruit salespeople. And, there's all different things you can do to try to recruit, especially in-home sales reps. If you're looking for a specific experience or you're willing to train for it, you can put a pretty broad net out there. Another thing we did on sales recruiting is we bought resume databases, and you, again, the same kind of texting email that you would do with the lead list, and you text them the opportunity and say, hey, it looks like you've had, some in-home sales experience over there with XYZ related company, or they came out of pest control sales, or any door-to-door sales, or they, something along those lines. They've been at it for a 10-year position. It's like, that could be a great candidate that's already working on a commission-only sales environment. That would be great, income boost for them, selling, $1,000 commission sales versus $100 commission sales, and are used to a sales system to begin with as well on the sales side of things. So any other kind of tips or tricks you've seen for in-home sales, or seeing companies doing well when it comes to recruiting sales reps as well, especially when, again, like I've had a couple webinars here, people are primarily still recruiting, commission, 100% commission positions in the sales environment. Are you seeing that kind of switch over to base plus in some of the companies you're working with? Versus, is it easier to recruit for the base plus positions versus a commission only? I'm kind of curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe a generational change, right? But the companies that have switched to a base model, and it's not a gigantic base, right? But if we're in the, average market, I'm in Twin Cities here, but if we have a base of 40 to 50 plus commission, we're just opening our candidate pool to so many more candidates. A lot of your competitors in other industries are starting to shift away from the 100% commission. We've seen a lot of home improvement companies, especially the big box retailers, are starting to shift to some pretty competitive base salaries out there. And I think, the close thing to remember too is, if we're offering a base salary, we're not guaranteeing it for a year. It's not a contract, right? So if we bring someone in and get them through training and we're seeing success, we should be happy to pay that base salary because of the return we're getting on them. And if we're not seeing the performance, we all know more than likely they're probably not going to be with us anyway. So offering that base salary up front, I get that we're offering a guaranteed base salary, but again, I would look at it as, I'm not guaranteeing 50,000 for the whole year. If this, in-home rep doesn't make it past month 2, I'm out 2 months of base salary. Is that worth it to be able to attract more talent and to get more constant flow in? Or, are we going to be 100% commission and wondering why people aren't applying to our ads? I think just in today's market, you take a lot of things into consideration, college tuition costs, and we're having these 23 to 25-year-olds come out that are 6 figures deep in college, right? And they're looking for a job to make big income, in the 100,000, 6 figures appealing, but there's a big risk on them too. I get there has to be a risk on both sides, but I think if we really want to attract candidates, get them in front of us, and get people that are like that, if we're offering a base salary and we can entice them, maybe that's our next sales manager in 3, 4, 5 years down the road too, versus we missed out on them because, they had never worked a commission only job in the past. I think when we advertise 100% commission, we'll probably get some of the industry people that are recycled through some of the companies, but are we attracting, the the enterprise assistant sales manager that has been through sales training and corporately trained and very professional and has a base of 45 right now, and maybe he's only making 60, he's probably still going to stay there because I have a base salary of 45. I have bills to pay. It's a huge risk for me to move over. And I think, maybe it's the generation change and things, but a lot of, I think when you start to talk to candidates, especially outside our industry, there's not a lot of industries that are still 100% commission only. I think we're seeing a big change in a lot of the different aspects when it comes to compensation for those in-homes. And for, home improvement companies that we've seen switch to base, it's everyone's saying the same thing. I wish we would have done this a couple of years ago. We are getting much better candidate flow. We're getting better quality candidates. We're getting those young college grads, professional that we want. They're no longer going to, some of these corporate companies because now we're playing the same space and we're able to get some of the same talent.
Yeah, and I think it's much different than I remember recruiting, even for our organization 10 years ago, and back in 2007, 2008, 2009, like after recession, you could hire amazing talent on commission only, and you'd hire people who are more than qualified because there just wasn't any jobs. In today's market where there's an abundance of jobs, your job has to be, you're not only competing within the industry, you're competing at the broad market as a whole. And I think at the end of the day, if you can put a position out there of $50,000 plus commission, you cut the normal commissions in half. Even if you eventually move them to commission a year from now or 6 months from now, because they can make more and you just want to get everybody on commission only, like the first 6 months of our contract, or you give them that option, you can cut their commission structure in half and give them a strong base, 50,000 plus, and you will have 4 times, 10 times the amount of candidates applying to a base plus commission position.
Yeah.
And you just have more to search through of candidates. So you're not taking as much risk on people because you're actually hiring people are in there. And I think that also goes back to, like, if you have a sales system and a sales methodology that you're subscribing to because you need to be successful, that it just also increases the likelihood of that person being successful as well. So again, it's just, the getting more applicants today means more for any organization. I think the stronger base you can actually provide someone, the better. And again, somebody who's really, really experienced in the industry and is making high 6 figures at another home improvement company isn't about to make a lateral move to work with you. So you either got to provide something that's above and beyond what they can get at their current role and current position, or you got to be questioning why they're moving, to you in the first place. So.
Yeah. And some things too, when we're talking to those in-home sales reps, is, leaning on your manufacturers. They provide, depending on who you're aligned with, there's a lot of, separation that you're telling your customers, you should shop with us because we're X, Y, and Z dealer. We should be telling the same to those reps. Hey, you should be aligned with us because we sell top of the line products here. We have a name, respected name, and sharing that information with them. Because again, I'm a 23-year-old, never been a home improvement. I don't know the difference between these different window manufacturers and siding and bath and everything. But in those job ads, we should be talking about that kind of stuff, sharing, your Google online reviews, sharing, any of those types of things that really are separating things. And again, if we look on most job ads, that type of stuff is not present, Yeah.
Yep. I loved last week, Chuck Tony with Top Rep was mentioning that he recommends doing a video in every one of his job ads. And I love that idea. In today's day and age, like we just hired, or in the process of hiring internally, we did videos in our ads. Like, what you want somebody to understand your culture and who you are, all that kind of stuff. It's partly to share about the position and share more detail than the job description on that. But it also tells you about the culture and all that stuff there too, and gives you an opportunity to kind of set yourself apart. So adding those different pieces about your company is a selling point.
Yeah. And I've seen some companies that maybe don't want that video quality to be out in the public, but they'll invite every applicant to a private Facebook group. And on that private Facebook group, we store those videos and content. So not everyone has seen it, but as soon as they apply to Indeed, they get an invite to your Facebook and there's a video from the owner, the sales manager, some of the leadership, maybe it's, fellow peers that could be theirs in the future if they get the job right, talking with the organization. Again, these are things that people aren't doing. Leveraging social media is huge on those types of things, and video content. Most people would rather watch a 30-second video than read through a huge paragraph. Most people are reading this on their phone. If they're scrolling and not interested in the first, thumb flick, they're probably on to the next one. So,
Yep, absolutely. Well, Andrew, how can people get in touch with you, get in touch with BRIX here too? Moving forward here.
So the best way to get a hold of us is just bricsrecruiting.com. On our website there, you can visit, you can read a little bit about us, but there's an opportunity there to get in contact with us. Send us an email. We get back to you within 24 hours. You can find us on LinkedIn. It's Andrew Henke, Henke. I'm one of the managing partners here. I have a team of recruiters that works with me. We're all very visible on LinkedIn. We're probably connected with a lot of you guys on here. And just to note, we do have another part of our organization that is on the building materials side. So if you have fellow manufacturers that are also looking for recruiting or advice on it, I have a whole nother team here that deals with manufacturers and basically direct sales to custom home builders, to companies, much like probably you guys are listening to this call right now. So our website will kind of break down the different avenues of BRIX, but I appreciate being on here with you, Sean. It's very nice to connect and kind of get our voice out there a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you again for your time here today. And as I mentioned, we've got a lot more content that we can jump through here and dive deeper in multiple other webinars here. We'll hopefully soon to come. With all that being said, have a great rest of the week here, everybody. And we'll see you soon.